Novel summary plus all my disciples suck video games. Synopsis. After 4 years, Yiming finally became a sect master, activated the sect system, and received sign-in rewards. The system summoned the souls of humans from Earth, reshaped their bodies, and made them disciples of the sect. With that, the sect's style of operation drastically changed. Even though they couldn't even kill the monsters in the novice village head, they just had to do a suicide attack to defeat it. That, and a whole lot of shenanigans as they innovate the world of cultivation. Tags 8 equals action, adventure, comedy, fantasy, harem, romance, Xianxia, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1. Special Disciples. Xianxia continent. There were tens of thousands of races and hundreds of roaming demons here. Every now and then, the aliens would invade. There were also countless heavenly artifacts and mortal treasures scattered everywhere. Anyone could continuously grow stronger through cultivation, to the extent that they could move mountains and fill seas. They could even become omnipotent. In the northern spirit realm, the most desolate wasteland in the continent, 2 figures, one old and one young, stood facing the other in the great hall of the sect. Yiming, are you sure this is where you want to establish your sect? This sect was annihilated 100 years ago. It's also known as the realm of extreme desolation, due to its inhospitable nature. Human cultivators have deserted this place for over 100 years, the elderly man said. Yes, I'm very certain. The youth, Yiming, nodded, his eyes firm. That's good. Henceforth, this is your sect. Now put the first rank sect seal into your blood essence, and imprint it in the great hall of the sect. Your registration will then be complete, the old man, Wang Ping, reminded him. The first rank was the lowest. Next was the second rank, up to the 6th rank. Above the 6th rank came the legendary sacred land. The northern spirit realm only had one sacred land, which was also the most powerful faction in the realm. With the first rank sect seal in his possession, one could search for a prosperous land, set up a sect, and establish a first rank sect. It was akin to obtaining the approval of the whole of the northern spirit realm. On the other hand, if a person set up a sect without approval unless the person had heaven-defying strength, the sect would be surrounded and be mercilessly annihilated by all other sects. Yiming nodded and retrieved the golden first rank sect seal. He dropped his blood essence on it and imprinted it onto the formation in the great hall of the sect. As the light spread and suffused, the registration ceremony was completed. This meant that Yiming had now become the official incumbent master of this sect. Xuanhuan sect. Yiming imprinted the name he had long thought of onto the formation. Simultaneously, the words, Xuanhuan sect, slowly appeared on the stone tablet outside the newly established sect. Congratulations, Sect Master of the Xuanhuan sect, Yiming. After a month, this old man will pick you up for the first round of the Academy's examination. Wang Ping reminded him once again. The old man was a notary of Xuanhuan Academy. His mission was to take charge of the assessment and supervision. Nonetheless, Yiming was one of the first graduates of Xuanhuan Academy. Xuanhuan Academy mainly instructed in all kinds of cultivation disciplines and theories, including studies on sect management. At the same time, it also trained and taught successors and outstanding talents from all major powers. His reputation in the northern spirit realm was zilch. No one really knew of him or even had heard of him. Just like Yiming, the top 10 graduates of Xuanhuan Academy had all obtained the grand seal of a first-rank sect bestowed by Xuanhuan Academy and were granted the qualification to establish a sect. Yiming and the others then had to undergo a year of examinations. Only by passing through the rounds of examinations and tests would they be qualified to become the leader of the sect. If they failed the assessment, then they were naturally denied the sect seal and would lose their identity as sect masters. Yiming suddenly smiled as he watched Wang Ping leave. After 4 years, a familiar sound finally sounded in his mind. Ding. Host has met the activation conditions by becoming a sect master. The strongest sect system is now activated. Finally, Yiming almost shed tears hearing the voice. Yiming wasn't native to this world. He was a transmigrator. About 4 years ago, Yiming had traveled to this world of cultivation. Yiming had awakened the system on the very first day of his journey, but the catch was that he needed to become a sect master to activate the system. In this world of cultivation, acquiring the qualifications to become a sect master wasn't an easy task. One either had to have heaven-defying strength or he must come from a powerful background. Unfortunately, Yiming didn't have both. That was why Yiming had fixated on a third path, which was entering the most powerful academy in the northern spirit realm, Xuanhuan Taoism Academy. Yiming had spent a total of 4 years in the academy and learned how to be an overlord. After all these years of hardships, he finally graduated and had obtained the qualifications to establish a sect. Let me see how strong the strongest sect system is. Yiming closed his eyes and began listening. In his head, the system's notifications continued to chime incessantly. Binding to the host. System binding the sect. Ding. Activation successful. Ding. Successfully bound the Xuanhuan sect. Activating sign-in system. Activating mission system. Releasing a sect mission. Time limit for recruiting 50 disciples, 3 days. Duration of mission completion will affect the mission evaluation. The higher the evaluation, the richer the reward. After listening carefully, Yiming began to contemplate the given mission. Yiming could upgrade the strongest sect system as he continued to develop his sect, thus increasing the latter's strength. Along with it, he could also unlock more of the system's functions and get stronger through it. But for now, everything else took little priority than signing in and collecting the day 1 sign-in reward. This was the reason why Yiming chose to establish his sect in this god-forsaken place, where no one dwelled in a radius of 1,000 miles. He wanted to locate a place with a sparse populace, keep a low profile, and peacefully develop his sect. He would sign in every day and receive rewards. Wasn't he smart? What was the most dangerous aspect of the cultivation world? It wasn't the presence of the ferocious demonic beasts, not to mention the dangerous environment, but the human heart. How could Yiming not understand this? Ding. Sign-in successful. Sing-in reward, disciple recruitment system. Ding. Failed to detect anyone in 1,000 miles. Ding. Disciple recruitment system has been upgraded into multi-dimensional disciple recruitment system. With the aid of the disciple recruitment system, the host can summon living people from his home world. Their souls can pass through realms. The host can recreate the body of the summoned, establish a contract with them, and accept them as the sect's disciple. Yiming was startled by the system's revelation. Upgraded. The system upgraded. Can summon living souls from my home world. Yiming had to think about it a bit before coming to an understanding. The multi-dimensional disciple recruitment system is equivalent to a login device. After receiving the VR helmet sent by the system, the friends from his home planet could log in and travel to this world with their souls and enter the new body created by the system. For these companions from his home planet, Yiming's cultivation world was like an online game. The companions would be the fourth calamity, MFN. They are called so because players are said to bring disaster to the game, MFN players. Even if they were to die here, they wouldn't truly die. Rather, their souls would return to the system and not go to heaven or the underworld. Fourth calamity, that's great. Yiming was delighted. It was only the first day of his system sign-in and he was already given such an awesome function. Not only could the players fool around casually, but he could also summon them and scam them into signing a super unequal contract. Henceforth, he could seize control of the players' fates, their life and death with but a single thought. He didn't need to worry about them betraying. They were simply the best tools, they were the best disciples. System, start summoning. The summoning process began. 1 Chapter 2, 88 players. Summoning from another world, creating a game, launching an official website, game forum online, shortlisting the first batch of disciples, distributing VR helmets and login devices. After 6 hours of waiting, the system concluded the first batch summoning. All 88 players had been shortlisted, and the VR helmets were delivered. Yiming looked at the slightly crude official website created by the system. After a moment of hesitation, he wrote a line on the blank space left for the title of the game. World's first all-virtual reality online game, Heaven-Defying Devil Immortal, now officially open for beta testing. Follow Sect Master Yiming and start your journey as the disciples of the Xuanhuan sect in the absolute real world of cultivation. Choose and be whoever you want to be, reach the summit and become a demon through cultivation. Friendly reminder, only 88 slots available for the first beta test. And so, with Yiming's direction, the words automatically appeared on the game's official website. After giving it some thought, Yiming recorded a small video via the system. In the video, the frames spanned across the dilapidated ruins of the sect, and briefly paused at the incomparably magnificent mountains and rivers running down the mountain at the far distance, and finally panned the frame onto himself. Yiming raised his hand and said, "Want to make the devil beg? Want to be an immortal? I'll wait and watch how you fight for it." Then, he abruptly ended the video. He clicked upload to complete his end of the work. All the other complicated technical work would be handled by the system. Now, all he had to do was wait for these 88 players to log in. Earth, year 2032. VR helmet. What? In a rented apartment room, Ding Hao looked at the VR helmet in his hand and was a little dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, he received an express delivery whose contents were listed as VR helmet in the package. As a veteran resident, he immediately signed the form and accepted it out of curiosity. When he opened the package, what he found was actually a VR helmet. Regardless of the workmanship or the aesthetic, it was much better than the currently popular versions of VR helmets. This made Ding Hao look forward to it. A couple of years ago, the technology that could read brain waves and allow people to play in their dreams had come into the market, VR technology. All kinds of VR helmets were released back to back on the market. There were various kinds and each of which promised to provide a real virtual world experience. However, when the players actually experienced those helmets, they soon found out that the promises and the hype were all bogus, and they were all trash like the technology from a decade ago. With a bunch of bugs and a few other models which failed in in-game control stability, most of them were mere brags. Obviously, it would take a long time before the VR technology would be perfected. But this VR helmet actually dared to guarantee 100% real simulation. Really? With heightened curiosity, Ding Hao logged into the game's official website, only to find it bare and crudely built. Although the site had a forum, it didn't even have a single post. However, Ding Hao was stunned when he saw the video that Yiming had uploaded. This is simply too sky-shattering. Is this even real? Even if I have the latest graphic video card, it won't be able to replicate this quality right. Ding Hao was utterly shocked. An indescribable impulse made Ding Hao lie down, put on the VR helmet, and press the power button. In the next moment, Ding Hao opened his eyes to take a glance at his surroundings and was simply stupefied by what he saw. He had stepped into the void, with countless runes swirling around him, and facing him was a mirror. Shockingly, there was a figure that resembled him in the mirror. Welcome, Player 1. The game will use a real-world simulation paradigm. The pain setting will by default be set to 5% and can be later adjusted at the player's prerogative. In addition, the player can alter his appearance to an extent. Once the character name is inserted, the player won't be allowed to change it. Once the player steps into the mirror portal, you will be able to start your legendary journey in the world of cultivation. A mechanical voice rang out. Oh my god, what kind of technology is this? It's so op. Ding Hao was so excited. Just this login interface was far better than all the VR games he had played. As a result, Ding Hao quickly adjusted his appearance. He made himself a little more handsome, and he casually picked up his name. ID, Beef Noodles. As Ding Hao took a step forward, his body entered the mirror. At the same time, Yiming stood quietly in the square outside the Great Hall of the Sect, looking at a slightly illusory vortex in front of him. Suddenly, the vortex began to tremble. Yiming's eyes began to light up. It's happening. The players are here. Under Yiming's gaze, a figure walked out of the vortex. Yiming could see the person's attributes with a glance. ID, Beef Noodles. Cultivation, Body Forging, First Stage. Talent, none. There were only 3 attributes displayed, but they were all very valuable attributes, it was that simple and straightforward. The cultivation realms in this world were divided into Body Forging Realm, Spirit Veins Realm, Foundation Establishment Realm, Sea Wheel, and Heavenly Pills Realm. No matter how high one's cultivation level was, Yiming couldn't reach it. Yiming himself was only at the peak of the 10th stage of the Body Forging Realm. Following the first figure, many figures soon walked out of the vortex. Each of them seemed dumbfounded as if they couldn't believe their own eyes. Yiming looked at them. They were all at the first stage of the Body Forging Realm, and they were all fairly ordinary. They didn't possess any special talent or constitution. It seemed that the system had just recently activated, as its functions weren't good enough. The bodies of these players were all of the lowest level. God. What kind of technology is this? AR plus Ver plus Sir. So awesome. Can we fart in 3R? Can it simulate a breeze? Can it stimulate pain? What kind of technology is this? Did aliens develop this? Ayo, this game is simply divine. The degree of realism is just amazing. This scene alone has managed to crush Illusionary 6 Engines games to the ground. This game also gives a lifelike tactile feedback experience. I can even feel the breeze. Ah, so comfortable. Brother Ming is much better looking than in the video. Damn, what do I do if I fall for him? All 88 players looked at their environment in shock, because the place they were in didn't really feel like a simulation being fed to them via the virtual helmet. It was simply all too real. After they were done taking in the novel scenario, the players began to look at Yiming. An azure Taoist robe coupled with his delicate and handsome face and his inexplicable aura that was calm and still as water, he had an aura of a soft blowing spring breeze. As expected of the Sect Master. How handsome. Some players even pinched their faces. Damn, it hurts a little. Some of the players picked up small stones and tossed them far. The stones landed at the distance, making a clear sound exactly like in reality. There were even some players who tried jumping and landing heavily on the ground. They felt their hands and feet go slightly numb from the impact, their faces were filled with shock. Ding Hao looked around at the scene that was exactly like a demonstration from the video. He was really excited. Had he really just logged into a game? Was the theme of the game set to emulate real transmigration? Yiming counted the number of players. As expected of the people chosen by the system, all 88 players had entered the game. There really are a lot of them. It seemed that the system was reliable and the information about the carefully selected group of players were true. At the very least, these players didn't care about time and all of them had entered the game. At the very least, the players didn't seem to care about the play time duration and had promptly logged in. At this moment, it was up to him to perform. Yiming calmed down, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. To Chapter 3, Don't Speak, Give Brother Ming Some Face. Welcome. I'm Yiming, the Sect Master of the Xuanhuan sect. The Xuanhuan sect was once extremely prosperous. Unfortunately, those times have passed. Now, the sect has fallen to these dire straits. But today, I, Yiming, vow to bring the Xuanhuan sect back to prominence. Are you all willing to join me and be the disciples of the Xuanhuan sect? Follow me along the path of cultivation. Let us create the most powerful sect together. Yiming spoke calmly. He then followed the system's instructions and tossed them the contract he had prepared prior to his speech. As a result, a huge screen appeared in front of every player. Heaven-defying Devil Immortal, virtual online game contract. The contract was riddled with a lot of extremely unfair terms. For example, all the discoveries and gains the players received in the game must be handed over to the sect. In return, they would be rewarded for their contribution to the sect. They couldn't betray the Sect Master, go against him, or gift him a green hat MFN to cuckold the MC MFN. Otherwise, they would explode. There were over 100 articles and clauses, all of which were long and convoluted. The FCK, this clause is so long. Why are there so many explosions? Don't ask. If you do, then it's because you haven't graduated from primary school yet and are still lacking in vocabulary. Many players simply agreed after skimming over a few lines of the contract. FCK, it's too long. Ding Hao, whose ID was Beef Noodle, didn't even try finishing the first page. He scrolled to the bottom of the contract and agreed to the terms. What's the point of going through it all? Just click OK. Soon, all the 88 players agreed to the contract. This meant that all 88 players were now officially Yiming's first batch of sect disciples. Congratulations on completing the mission. Mission evaluation, S. Mission reward, top grade ascending spirit pills. Top grade ascending spirit pill, 100% chance rate of entering the spiritual vein realm with stable foundation and firm cultivation base. Yiming was delighted by the system prompt. No matter what, he finally had disciples, and he even got rewarded with a top grade ascension pill. Yiming had long since reached the 10th stage of the body forging realm. He could be considered to have the highest level of cultivation among mortals. However, the price of the spirit ascension pill was too high. Yiming could not afford it. The moment since the system activated, it had given him the best of everything. Yiming didn't hesitate. He took a pill and broke through to the spiritual vein realm. Yiming had finally stepped into the spirit vein realm. Yiming was extremely excited when he sensed the spiritual energy coursing through his body, which was 10 times more powerful than when he was in the body forging realm. The spirit vein realm represented the true path to cultivation. When he was at the body forging realm, he only had a tiny amount of spiritual energy in his body, and he could only rely on brute force. Entering the spirit vein realm meant that he had the power to use spiritual tools and techniques. He could even control flying swords to fly in the air for a short period of time. As Yiming was relishing his joy of breaking through, the players were restless and were unwilling to be left alone. Some of the players tried to run into the distance. There were even a few bold people who wanted to run and touch Yiming. There was even a guy with the ID, Beef Noodle, who wanted to reach out to a place where he should not. I wonder if Sect Master Yiming might squeak if I touch here. Beef Noodle was extremely curious. Yiming was shocked, then he became furious. Yiming's heart skipped a beat. Because the players had signed the contract, he could restrict their movements whenever he wanted. Wow, I can't move anymore. Is this the beginning of the plot? Shish, don't speak. Give Brother Ming some face. Brother Ming needs face. Hee, don't make me laugh. Although these players were giggling, they quickly calmed down. At this moment, Yiming received the system's second mission. Ding. A new mission has been issued. Rid all demonic beasts within the sect's vicinity. Target, Kill 100 war hunchback beasts. Time limit, 3 days. Duration of mission completion will affect the mission evaluation. The higher the evaluation, the richer the reward. A friendly reminder, host can assign the mission to your disciples. In addition, the mission can be subdivided into over 100 minor missions for your disciples to complete. Yiming was stunned when he heard the system's mission. Although the system had released a sect mission, he could split it up and leave it to the players to complete. It was equivalent to letting the players work for him. It was indeed quite good. But hunchback. War hunchback beasts at the spirit vein realm. This difficulty level was simply impossible. Yiming was helpless. He had just broken through to the early stage of the spirit vein realm and had to kill 100 war hunchback beasts of the early stage spirit vein realm. As for relying on players, the players were only at the first stage of the body forging realm. Fighting hunchback beasts for their first battle. What was the difference between that and sending them to their deaths? Yiming was afraid that these players would be beaten to death by the war hunchback beast. The defeat might be so devastating that they would probably quit the game. Yiming thought for a moment. No matter how difficult it was, he still had to try it out. All disciples. Today, I will lead you all down the mountain to broaden your horizons. Follow me. Yiming spoke indifferently and walked towards the sect staircase. Damn. We are unlocking a new map. Who tilde going down the mountain? Does this mean we can fight monsters? Wow, I'll be able to kill monsters if I go down. Monsters, don't seek death by fighting me. I wonder if the monsters in the novice village are enough. Wait, I don't even have a weapon. How can I fight monsters? I don't know. Let's follow Brother Ming first. The players were all extremely excited as they followed behind Yiming. They walked down the winding mountain stairs and finally arrived at the foot of the mountain. The foot of the mountain was covered in weeds and many small wood. Many places were even devoid of walking paths. Clearly, this place had been desolate for a long time. At this moment, a nearby thicket suddenly began to move. It's coming. Yiming's expression changed as he looked over. Gaga. Following a strange cry, a giant figure that was over 4 meters tall appeared. A pair of large eyes greedily swept across the players. It had brown skin that looked like scales, 4 long legs, and a huge mouth covered with sharp teeth. It looked like a horse, but his 4 legs were as thick as an elephant. This was especially true for the sharp teeth. It was enough to devour a living person in a single bite. It had to be said that this demon beast looked incomparably brutal. 3 Chapter 4, How dare you, fight with a wooden stick. It really is the beast. Yiming's heart froze. Although the war hunchback beast didn't have any outstanding abilities, its entire body was covered with tough scales which bolstered its defensive capabilities, especially its limbs. They were abnormally thick, with boundless strength behind them. The beast was much stronger than a human cultivator at a similar cultivation stage. To put it in simple terms, it was a cheat monster with high stats in both defense and attack. Damn. Why is this monster so menacing? The fuck? You're a sissy. I've killed countless monsters before, this monster is a piece of cake to me. In the game, Monster Hunter 7 feet that I played before, there was a monster called Old Mountain Dragon that was several thousand meters tall. Compared to that, this monster. Beef, it's like walking in a park. Some of the players were so scared that their faces turned pale with fright, but most others did not seem to mind. After playing so many virtual games, what kinds of monsters and demons they hadn't seen already? Trying to frighten me. Just with this. Ha ha ha. Yiming knew that the players were all at the first stage of the body tempering realm. Even if they were to fight against this war hunchback beast, they wouldn't be able to defeat it. Disciples, retreat. This demonic beast is called the war hunchback beast. It's a spirit vein realm demonic beast. It's not something you can fight against at the moment. Yiming let out a loud shout. He then immediately took a step forward to attack. Ha 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 ha, watch this daddy achieve his first kill. Charge. However, a player was extremely excited. He brandished a wooden stick that he had picked up from somewhere and immediately charged forward. Yiming was stunned. This player with the ID beef noodle, where did you get the courage to run off like that? This is a spirit vein realm demonic beast. How dare you go up against it with a mere wooden stick? What the fuck? Is this brother trying to be funny? He's rushing to the beast just like that. The players were all stunned. Fuck. Where was the tactic? What about the plan? You're just blindly attacking. When the war hunchback beast saw beef noodle rushing to it, it suddenly raised both of its front hooves. Be careful. This is the only skill of the war hunchback beast, war hunchback stomp. Yiming yelled as he quickly retreated. Forget it, there's someone who has personally volunteered for the demonstration. Yiming then began to explain it to the players. In the next moment, the war hunchback beast heavily stomped on the ground, which caused a small earthquake within a few dozen meters. In fact, even the players who were about 40 to 50 meters away felt the tremors of its powerful stomp. Their bodies shook, and they almost lost their footing. The beast's heavy stomp will make it impossible for the enemy to stabilize himself. Taking advantage of this opening, the war hunchback beast would attack and defeat the enemy with a single strike. Yiming said. Almost at the same time. Ah. Beef Noodle couldn't face its attack and was sent flying onto the ground. The war hunchback beast's eyes flashed as it raised its hooves and kicked him midair. Bang. With a loud crunch, Beef Noodle was crushed to pieces. That was quick. What the fuck? This monster is way too abnormal, right? He was killed instantly. Did you see it? Killed. Fuck. This game isn't like a cultivation game at all. This is a fucking soul-like game. MFN, a hellish difficulty game, MFN. Dang, died just like that, retard. The surrounding players cried out in alarm. What the hell? Ding Hao, with the ID, Beef Noodle, was currently looking at the login screen with a dumbfounded expression. Welcome, player Beef Noodle. As your character has been dead for a long time, it is suggested that you restart. The system's mechanical voice sounded, and Beef Noodle finally understood. This trashy game is toxic. What the fuck? The monsters from the novice village can kill me in a single strike. The game was plotting against him. Beef Noodle began to cough up real blood. War Hunchback Beast only has one skill, War Hunchback Stomp. Besides, it relies on its astonishing speed and formidable power to defeat its enemy. After Yiming finished explaining, he took a step forward. Yiming knew that the players couldn't beat the War Hunchback Beast, yet he patiently explained it to them as their guide. Fight. Yiming didn't say any more nonsense and quickly activated his spirit vein cultivation. He directly fought with the War Hunchback Beast. Gaga. The War Hunchback Beast's cry was extremely strange. Seeing that another human was courting death, it began to sprint towards him. Yiming leapt into the air and dodged the attack. As for the War Hunchback Beast, its feet heavily stomped on the ground, directly smashing the stomped ground into a large pit that was over a meter deep. Boom. The powerful bombardment and the trembling of the ground left all the players stunned. Fuck. It's that fierce. Brother Ming, did someone steal this War Hunchback Beast's wife? Shish. Don't speak. It must be a plot of the game. Brother Ming will win for sure. The players were shocked, but they immediately zoned into their bystander modes. The War Hunchback Beast's skin is incomparably tough and doesn't have any openings. Its only weakness is its lower abdomen. Yiming struck as he explained. He was fighting the War Hunchback Beast head-on. The battle was extremely fierce. The players were all stunned. Yiming threw a punch at the War Hunchback Beast's head, causing it to scream and spit out blood. However, this War Hunchback Beast was indeed powerful. Yiming's attack just now had managed to further agitate and anger the beast. Immediately after the attack, there was a visible increase in the beast's speed, and it had managed to further increase its strength by several folds, becoming even more terrifying. The fuck? This monster even has a berserk mode. Many players cried out in shock. Lightning strike technique. Yiming suddenly raised his hands and a bolt of lightning shot out from his fingertip, striking the War Hunchback Beast. Gaga. The War Hunchback Beast let out a miserable cry as its entire body froze. Seizing the opportunity, Yiming rushed towards the War Hunchback Beast, spiritual energy gathered and condensed in his right hand. In the next moment, Yiming's fist landed on War Hunchback Beast's face. Following the War Hunchback Beast's miserable cry, its entire body lost balance, revealing its weakness. Taking advantage of the small opening, Yiming struck with a powerful fist. With a slash of his hand, he punctured the beast's abdomen and retracted his fist. Poochie. With a crisp sound, the War Hunchback Beast's abdomen was sliced open, and all its blood and organs sprayed out. It was a deadly strike. For Chapter 5, Single Challenge Hunchback. We won. Yiming couldn't help but rejoice. Although Yiming had once battled with Spiritual Vein Realm Demonic Beast while teamed up with his classmates during his days in the academy, this War Hunchback Beast was still the most powerful demonic beast in the early stages of Spiritual Veins realm, and he had managed to kill it all by himself. Gaga. However, right at the moment, the War Hunchback Beast's eyes flashed with a fierce red light. It seemed as if it was aware of its imminent death, and yet, it raised both its hooves and fiercely kicked at Yiming. Seeing the incoming attack, Yiming hastily began to circulate his cultivation base to protect his body, but he was still sent hurtling over a dozen or so meters away, breaking several large trees in the process. Damn it. I was careless. Yiming coughed up profuse amounts of blood and stood up. He was already injured from the impact. If it wasn't for him timely using his cultivation to protect himself, he would have probably been crippled already, if not dead. The power of the War Hunchback Beast's final retaliation was truly terrifying. The War Hunchback Beast's injuries were too severe, and right after it had sent Yiming flying, it ceased breathing. Damn show off. Brother Ming. Heck, he actually soloed it. This battle had so many twists and turns, ups and downs, and the final counterattack. So awesome. The players were all dumbfounded. Only after Yiming had picked himself up did the commotion blow up. Everyone, this is a War Hunchback Beast. With your current strength, you're certainly no opponent to it. Even this Sect Master's momentary lapse was met with a counterattack. That is it for today, our expedition shall end here. This area won't be barred, and shall remain open to all disciples, but you must keep in mind to never think of going against the War Hunchback Beast. Alright disciples, carry this beast back to the sect. Yiming spoke calmly as if everything that had transpired was something that was part of the game's plot. He couldn't just blurt out that he didn't have enough accumulated combat experience, and not blame the injury on his carelessness, right? If he did, then wouldn't he lose his face as the Sect Master? I'll give this plot scene 101 points and 1 extra point for Brother Ming's handsome face. FCK, no matter how good you are, the NPC will not hang on to you. Can we eat the meat of this War Hunchback Beast? Why don't we carry it back and make it into a hot pot? All you know is eat. These are all precious materials. Do you even know what those materials are? Its bone, teeth, and all other parts of its body can be refined into weapons. Alright, if you don't have the guts, don't eat it when I make it into a hot pot then. Big brother, I was in the wrong. Since the War Hunchback Beast's weakness is its belly, I'll send it flying to the heavens with my sliding shovel later. While having an excited discourse, the players joined together and hefted the beast back to the sect. Once he returned to the sect, Yiming ordered a few players to go to the kitchen and retrieve a few of the kitchen utensils to him. After all, though their bodies were made and modeled by the system, they were still the bodies of normal humans. They still needed to eat, drink and rest. They could still die of starvation, thirst, or exhaustion. The War Hunchback Beast he had killed with great difficulty shouldn't be wasted. Eating the flesh of a War Hunchback Beast can nourish the body, and enhance your physical strength. Its bones and teeth are just as effective. As for the fur, once the War Hunchback Beast dies, it will quickly start to decay, and will be difficult to refine it into any usable equipment. Yiming briefly explained and began taking out some spices from his storage pouch. Brother Ming, I'll help. I'm the best at making hot pot. A player with the ID of Bite the Young Master immediately came forward. Bite the Young Master found a rusty-looking kitchen knife. He then polished it a little to make it sharp again. With practiced movements, he quickly began slicing the meat of the beast into small even pieces. From start to the end, his movements were all fluid like water. Yiming was suspicious. Was this guy here to cultivate or had he come here for a feast? Big brother, let me help you light the fire. Big brother, I'll chop the firewood. Big brother, let me help you eat. A dozen or so gluttonous players swarmed the food and began to busy themselves. Yiming nodded. This War Hunchback Beast was enough to satiate the players for a few more days. There was no need for him to worry about procuring food in the near future. Earlier today, the War Hunchback Beast had dealt a powerful kick and had managed to heavily injure him. He needed to quickly rest to recuperate. At this moment, the system sent another notification. Friendly reminder, the host can subdivide the task and allot subtasks to the disciples to complete. The mission will be deemed complete if all the allocated tasks are completed by the disciples. Good, good, good. I'll assign them missions. Sigh. Yiming was truly hapless. He ruminated for a moment. After all, the players wouldn't truly die if they died here. If worse came to worst, the system could just resurrect them. That's right. I can design a virtual currency and the corresponding sect contribution points. The players can earn contribution points after they complete the released missions, and when I have something good in the future, I can let the players exchange it for contribution points. It means that I don't even have to spend even a single spirit stone. It's absolutely profitable. Great. MFN, the actual translation here is, the empty hand gets the wolf. MFN. The more Yiming thought about it, the happier he became. Yiming's heart skipped a beat as he announced the mission. Sect mission, War Hunchback Beast. Target, kill a War Hunchback Beast and transport its corpse back to the sect square. Mission reward, 100 sect contribution points. Yiming later entered the secret room and began to recuperate, and as soon as he did, the players received the mission notification. The players gathered in the square for hot pot were all stunned. Damn. Finally, here it comes. To kill a war hunchback beast. *T, is this really the first mission? Damn it, I don't even have a weapon. How will I fight? The players were in chaos. However, almost all the players accepted the mission without hesitation. At this moment, Beef Noodle had already finished reforming a body and had recreated a new character. But of course, he had retained the ID. I am not convinced. I still have to fight. After leaving the portal, Beef Noodle appeared once again in the square of the sect, and without saying a word, he rushed down the mountain road. After the time it took to burn half an incense stick. The heck? Beef Noodle cursed at the toxic game as he walked out of the portal. Clearly he had died at a much faster speed than the speed he took to travel down the road. Everyone. I have an idea. Suddenly, a young man with the ID, Star, appeared and shouted at the other players. The players were all stunned. What is this person trying to do? 5 Chapter 6, Assembling the Star Regiment. Star, could he be the one who won the most first kills in Beast World 3, the president of the top-ranking Star Guild? No way, isn't that the op expert? Boss, you say. Several players recognized the ID as soon they saw it, and their eyes began to look at him in worship. After all, in the game Beast World 3, every boss-level monster was abnormally powerful, and the leader of the team which could manage to snag the most first kills in the game was naturally op. You all might have guessed who I am, still I'll reintroduce myself. I am Star, as in the Star from Beast World 3, the president of the Star Guild. I once led my guild members to kill all the new bosses, and was the first to kill all of them, for 2 consecutive years. Star spoke softly, his voice calm and without the slightest inclination to show off, as he was stating a commonly known fact. But his common facts managed to shake the ground beneath their feet. Beast World 3, famed as the hottest virtual online game a few years ago. It was claimed that its daily simultaneous player traffic reached up to a whopping 8 million. This person could stand out amongst so many players and snatch the first kills for every one of the game's new boss-level monsters. This person with the ID Star was definitely a real expert. According to my deductions, I think that this mission doesn't have a limit on the number of participants. Besides, this should be an open-world game with no fixed routines. Believe me, let's form a team. We can ambush that war hunchback beast with group attacks. Star waved his large hand and said with poise. Haha, no matter how strong the boss monster might be, once the limit for the ambush is lifted then wouldn't it be just a wild beast? Hee, look how this lord has people surrounding him, all queuing up ready to die for him. It just so happened that the new boss monster design of Beast World 3 was no different from the other previously released models, which bored Star. The first monster, War Hunchback Beast, in the newbie village of this game was so challenging that it had aroused Star's desire for a new challenge. New area. I love unlocking new areas. He liked to challenge these kinds of high-difficulty games. Nobody can fight with bare hands. Everyone, as all regions of the sect are open, split up and search for any weapons or equipment that you can get your hands on. If not, we can use the materials from the War Hunchback Beast that the NPC just killed. Star deepened his tone and immediately gave them orders. That's right. Everybody was stunned for a moment, and they soon reacted and dispersed as asked. Yiming's mission details were to simply kill a War Hunchback Beast. That was all. There were no additional limits or conditions imposed on that. As players, they were given complete freedom. One player opened all the jars, water vats, and even the chamber holes weren't left alone. Clearly, they were senior RPG players. Some of the players climbed the roofs, scanning the area, looking for anything valuable. There were also a substantial number of players who found some broken door panels, which, after some slight modifications here and there, were turned into wooden shields. An ingenious player of the lot plucked out the teeth of the butchered War Hunchback Beast, then tied it to a wooden stick he randomly found and turned it into a makeshift bone spear. Thus, an elite squad of 10 people quickly was assembled. Everybody did great. Star looked at his first elite squad and nodded with satisfaction. They had all worn jackets made from the fur sheared from the butchered War Hunchback Beast. Each of them was holding a bone spear and a wooden shield in their hands. At a glance, they looked like an elite squad of soldiers. Dang. As expected of Star, he managed to assemble an assault team so quickly. Formidable. I want to see how Boss will showcase his might. When the other players witnessed this scene, they all couldn't help but feel envious. What did it mean to be a big shot? This was. Everyone, follow me to attack the beast, ha! Let's go. Star waved his hand and turned around. The cape made from the War Hunchback Beast's tail fluttered in the wind, making him look heroic. Let's kill it. The 10 elite members were all extremely excited. They were filled with confidence as they followed Star's footsteps down the mountain road. The other players naturally followed behind and began to spectate. What are these players planning? Yiming had just come out when he was reminded of something and then witnessed this scene. He decided to follow them out of curiosity. 11 body tempering realm players. Equipped with self-made weapons. Could it be, there was going to be a hunt? Yiming soon dispersed the notion, realizing that he was overthinking things. At the foot of the mountain. Gaga. A war hunchback beast roared and trampled on the ground. Other than Star, who hurriedly jumped up and avoided the impact, the rest of the players lost their balance and were sent flying. Ah! With a miserable cry, 3 players were sent flying by the war hunchback beast's lightning quick kick and were instantly killed. The war hunchback beast then launched a 3-hit attack. Quickly raise your shields. Star hastily shouted. As the next 3 players came forward, they immediately stacked their shields together. This is the power of unity. Invincible shield wall. The 3 players' faces were filled with passion and determined expressions. Even the angles of their shields' alignment was perfect. Boom. However, the war hunchback beast trampled on the 3 of them, trampling them into pieces along with their shields. It was obvious that the wooden shield was useless against the war hunchback beast who was at the spirit vein realm. Ah! I'll go all out with you. At this moment, a player roared furiously as he brandished his bone spear and fiercely stabbed at the war hunchback beast. Crack. With a crisp sound, the bone spear broke. The player was instantly killed by the war hunchback beast. At this moment, the war hunchback beast was simply invincible. It swept them in all directions, kicking all 3 players to death. Finally, all 10 players were instantly wiped out. As for the war hunchback beast, it had directly killed 10 elite players. I can't beat him. Star looked at the war hunchback beast, feeling defeated. He had gathered 10 players, had fully prepared them for the hunt, and yet they were annihilated. The war hunchback beast didn't care what Star thought. With a single heavy stomp, it sent Star flying back home. Is this monster really from a novice village? The spectators were all dumbfounded. What the FCK? All 11 elite team members were wiped out. This war hunchback beast was simply too abnormal. 6 Chapter 7, Discovering Techniques. It seems the mission to kill a 100 war hunchback beasts is going to be fruitless. Yiming shook his head and sent a notification to all the players. Ding. Friendly reminder, it is suggested that the players eat the war hunchback beast's meat in the sect square if they are hungry and drink water from the well next to the Great Hall if thirsty. If the players are experiencing fatigue in-game, it is suggested that players find a place to rest. The player will need to meditate to log out of the game. Yiming turned around and prepared to go back to recuperate. However, at this moment, a player excitedly shouted. Holy shit! Look at what I've found! Beef Noodle excitedly rushed out of the library and brandished a jade slip. There were 3 words engraved on the jade slip. Accumulated energy kick. Beef Noodle was killed 3 times in a row, and he had come to a realization that if he continued to blindly charge forward, he would just be kicked to death again. As a result, he searched around the entire sect and quickly found a building. Library. Library. This description, there must be a cultivation technique inside. Beef Noodle became excited and entered the library. However, no one had come to the library for 100 years. As a result, all the bookshelves were empty. But Beef Noodle wasn't discouraged. He ran around and inspected every empty bookcase and eventually found something. That was the jade slip called the accumulated energy kick. There is still a cultivation technique in this ruin. Yiming was a little surprised when he heard Beef Noodle exult. With how precious a cultivation technique was to this world. This ruined sect must have been ransacked by many powerful cultivators. Then how come they still left a cultivation technique behind? However, when Yiming saw the name on the jade slip, he immediately understood. Accumulated energy kick. This cultivation technique could not be considered a cultivation technique and utilized by cultivators. It was an ordinary martial manual. To put it into perspective, it was a skill on how to gather all the strength in one's body and unleash it through the accumulated energy kick. The reason for this was that most people would cry, hi yaa, to maintain their rhythm and release the gathered energy through the kick. It was also a technique which the poorest and the most abject of mortals were forced to practice. It belonged to a category of cultivation techniques that if it was thrown onto the street, not even the weakest among cultivators would pick it up. After all, this accumulated energy kick required the practitioner to remain still for a duration of an entire second before this skill could be used. A delay of a single breath could be the determiner of life and death in the battle between cultivators. Wouldn't they be simply courting death by standing still accumulating strength mid-battle? This artifact is called a cultivation jade slip. You'll have to press it onto your glabella for you to enter the illusory realm to cultivate, Yiming explained. Is that so? Following Yiming's instructions, Beef Noodle placed the jade slip over his glabella and soon everything around him immediately disappeared. He was in a dark space. He saw a figure with a blurred face soaring to the sky. The figure then pulled back its right leg, bent it, and a powerful force began to gather around it before it ruthlessly kicked out. This phantom repeated this action over and over again, just like a video tutorial. So it's like this, Beef Noodle studied it a few more times, before the time was up. He then withdrew from the illusionary realm. Brother, let me have a look too. I finally have my first cultivation skill. This is called a martial skill, you idiot. The other players took the jade slips and began to circulate them. Hi yaa. Beef Noodle jumped in the air, and with great finesse he accreted energy in his legs and flew out again. His actions were quite impressive. Wretched beast, I'm invincible. Beef Noodle laughed excitedly after a few more stretches. Yiming was speechless. Invincible. If you return to your world, then it would be no problem for you to take care of a few punks. But this is the world of cultivators. With a wave of their hands, powerful cultivators could move mountains and fill the seas. And you're going to be invincible with just a kick. What a joke. Yiming glanced at the excited players before he stopped looking at them altogether. They were all too caustic to look at. This sect was originally a ruin, so Yiming didn't care about it either. He let the players explore it without placing any restrictions. In any case, what if they managed to find some treasure in the end? Yiming returned to the Great Hall and found a corner to recuperate. With a martial skill, a mere war hunchback beast is not an opponent that I cannot capture. Beef Noodle gave a proud smile, and then excitedly ran down the mountain. Many of the players were stunned, and then they all followed. After all, this sect mission would reward 100 contribution points all at once. Although the war hunchback beast was very strong, Beef Noodle had also learned the accumulated energy kick. What if he managed to turn the situation? There were still 7 or 8 followers around Star, and one among them asked. Brother Star, what should we do? Let's follow and take a look. Star couldn't accept this either. He was a guild president who was invincible in so many games. But in the end, in this game, forget about the god beasts, he couldn't even beat the monsters in the novice village. If this news was to spread, would he still be able to survive? As a result, Star glanced at Beef Noodle and followed him with a wave of his hand. Found a war hunchback beast. Beef Noodle was very quick and soon found a war hunchback beast. Charge. Beef Noodle roared and rushed forward. Accumulated energy kick. Without any prelude, he directly jumped in the air. The war hunchback beast quietly looked at a Beef Noodle, unflinching at the incoming attack. However, its gaze seemed as if it was patronizing a fool. 7 Chapter 8, First Kill. An audible crack rang in the air. The war hunchback beast was fine, but the flying kick had given Beef Noodle a fracture. This was extremely embarrassing. When Beef Noodle sent the accumulated energy kick, it felt as if he had kicked an iron plate. How could his foot possibly withstand that? It was directly broken. With a trample from its hind feet, the war hunchback sent Beef Noodle flying back home. The surrounding players were speechless. Are you trying to be funny? Or are you imitating a monkey? Although they had witnessed the beast defeat Beef Noodle, there were still several players who went up to challenge the beast one after another, utilizing various tactics and schemes. Brother Hunchy, actually, I'm your long-lost cousin. A player half kneeling on the ground activated his deception mode and tried to swindle the beast with his mouth-moving technique. Bang! The war hunchback beast raised its hooves and stomped him to death. Eat my gravel darts. There were even some players who threw rubble towards the beast and quickly ran away, apparently, trying to use the long-range attacking tactic. In conclusion, it was as expected. Without even needing to ask for it, the war hunchback beast trampled them all to death. 2 legs couldn't outrun 4. It was an obvious outcome. How dare you? Bastard. Look at this shovel. There was also a player who screamed at the beast as he tried to stab it with a shovel. In the end, he naturally slipped under the beast's hooves, took those hooves to his face, and died a quick death. An hour later, the players walked out of the vortex and looked at each other in dismay. Let's go back, a player spoke slowly. The other players ran away with tears. FCK, even the first monster in the novice village couldn't be defeated. How can anyone play this game? At this moment, a figure walked towards the war hunchback beast. His ID, Indomitable Bear. The war hunchback beast takes a second before it starts to trample its enemies. In addition to this, his weakness is his lower abdomen. We must target his weakness for the attack to be effective. Apart from that, since the game has given us a cultivation technique, I've been cultivating it for 3 hours, and I believe that's the key. The previous battle with Beef Noodle showed us that the accumulated energy kick can only be used to attack the beast's only weakness, the lower abdomen. Otherwise, if we use it to attack any other place, it would do nothing but break our bones and get us killed. Indomitable Bear's firm gaze flickered, so he took a step forward and began the challenge. But soon a light flashed and Indomitable Bear appeared back in the square of the sect. My movements are too slow. I still need to improve. While you dodge, you also need to do this and this. After Indomitable Bear muttered to himself, he kept on challenging the beast. Time and time again, death was unable to shake the firmness of Indomitable Bear's will in the slightest. Instead, it infuriated him more and more. Seeing that they were completely unable to defeat the war hunchback beast, most of the players chose to give up. Or rather, wait for a big boss to kill it first. Ah, if only there was a cup of fine wine along with such a beautiful scene, wouldn't it be just perfect? Some players climbed a high place and were leisurely enjoying the setting sun's fading glow. There were also players who were still rummaging around. There were also a few players who logged off decisively and began to research strategies for the game. However, most players had gathered around the sect square. A player named Sarcastic Chan had found a large pot from somewhere. He even made a barrier around it, putting the war hunchback beast meat into the pot and stirred it. The surrounding players were all holding their wooden chopsticks, greedy and salivating. The war hunchback beast's meat is too delicious. The thigh meat is even better. That's my bro. FCK, this tastes so amazing. Wait. Should we cultivate first? What's the point of cultivation? Does cultivation have the fragrance of a hot pot? FCK, this old man was playing liver games MFN, drinking MFN all night and ended up eating hot pot online. It's truly fragrant. The more these players ate, the better they felt. Moreover, no matter how much they ate, they wouldn't get bored of the taste, let alone worry about bursting their stomachs. Thus, the entire night passed quickly. The next day. Yiming opened his eyes and exhaled in satisfaction. It took him a night to fully recover from all his injuries. This war hunchback beast is too strong. Those players wouldn't be able to win. I can only rely on myself. But there are only 2 days left. How is it possible to kill 100 of them? Yiming sighed. Forget it, let's sign in first. Ding. Sign in successful. Sign in reward. New building, Hall of Resurrection. Hall of Resurrection. After a player dies, he will automatically revive in the Hall of Resurrection. His cultivation will be reset to the first stage of body forging realm. There isn't a need to create a new character. This Hall of Resurrection is a good thing. Yiming nodded. With this thing, even if the players died without complete corpses, all their previous accumulated data would return to their original form, and they would have to start again from the first stage of the body forging realm. However, the experience and knowledge accumulated by the players would remain. It was just that their cultivation would be gone. This was just like the tough soul game. The most important thing was to save time, save others, and establish roles. At this moment, a system notification suddenly chimed in his ears. Ding. Indomitable Bear has successfully killed a war hunchback beast and completed the assigned mission. Reward: 100 contribution points. Yiming was stunned. There are players who can kill the war hunchback beast. Yiming's first reaction was that he hadn't woken up yet, and he was still dreaming. However, this was indeed a system notification. There was no mistake. How the hell did he do it? Yiming immediately stood up and hurried out of the hall. The heck? Brother Bear is so mighty. That's my bro. As expected, a brother bear. Amazing. Big boss, do you still lack thigh people to hold your thighs? At the center of the cheering crowd, a figure drenched in blood stood on top of the fresh corpse of the war hunchback beast, his face brimming with the joy of victory. It was the player with the ID, Indomitable Bear. This war hunchback beast is indeed powerful. Key difficulty lay in its high attack and high defense. If we were to be struck, we would be killed instantly. That's why we must be unharmed to kill the war hunchback beast. Indomitable Bear spoke calmly. Must be unharmed. Are you kidding me? All the players looked at each other in dismay. Perhaps, this was the world of the big bosses. Big boss, how did you kill him? Can we learn it from you? A player asked curiously with stars flashing in his eyes. Sure. Indomitable Bear nodded his head, showing no intention of keeping it to himself. Big boss, this is a big boss. The other players were extremely moved. They could not defeat it. But they had a big boss now. If they observed the big boss killing the beast, they might learn it too. Then, couldn't they also kill the beast? How did he do it? Yiming was also curious. Someone at the first stage of the body forging realm killed an early stage spirit vein realm demonic beast alone. If he was born with an innate chaotic body, a supreme body, or even an immortal body, he would believe it. But this player, Indomitable Bear, was like any other player, talentless. He was just an average Joe. In the end, how did this happen? Chapter 9, we can fight like that. Wait for me to eat some meat and drink some water. Add buff. MFN gaming terminology, to add strength MFN. Indomitable Bear wasn't worried. He sat down and rested. Boss, here have some cooked meat. Boss, drink some water. Boss, let me massage your shoulders. One player after the other provided him with various special services, treating him as some star or moon. MFN give special treatment MFN. After having his fill with food and drinks and all other nonsense, Indomitable Bear got up and straight away went down the mountain path. A crowd of players including Yiming followed. There. A war hunchback beast. A sharp-eyed player shouted. Well, the terrain here is suitable, we can fight. Indomitable Bear made a strong observation of the terrain, and only then did he move his body. After warming up his muscles and bones, he went forward with only his bare hands. Come on, big boss, the players whispered. I want to see how he killed it. Yiming's eyes were also fixed on Indomitable Beast. And so the battle began. Gaga. The war hunchback beast quickly discovered its opponent, Indomitable Bear, and rushed with a roar. Indomitable Bear did not make any hurried moves and retreated to avoid the blow. At the next moment, Indomitable Bear suddenly knelt on one knee and assumed a very strange posture. He had his fists clenched, had one of his elbows raised, and staring directly at the war hunchback beast. What does this action signify? Boss, what are you doing? Shish. Don't talk. Don't disturb the boss when he's performing. The players were all taken aback, but they quickly settled down. Gaga. The war hunchback beast roared, and it jumped, fully intent on trampling its opponent. They saw Indomitable Bear roll over and stop under the beast. The kick was incoming fast and it was too late for any countermeasures at this moment. Accumulated energy kick. Indomitable Bear suddenly let out a low growl. When he was rolling, Indomitable Bear firmly grasped the period when he was suspended in the air. He pulled back his right leg and began to gather energy and then fiercely kicked, which firmly landed on the beast's lower abdomen. With Indomitable Bear's strong blow, the war hunchback beast let out a painful yowl. Yiming knew that this kick had managed to wound the war hunchback beast. Theoretically, a strong physical impact on its lower abdomen, its sole weakness, could indeed injure the war hunchback beast. But, what of it? It was one thing to slightly injure it, but to actually kill it was a whole another thing. At the least, it would require 100 similar kicks to get it gravely injured. Wait a minute. Under the gazes of everyone present, Indomitable Bear began to attack tirelessly at the beast, one kick at a time, predicting the war hunchback beast's attack routine and pattern in advance, and successfully deflecting all of its attacks. Gaga. When the war hunchback beast used its ultimate trampling move, Indomitable Bear was always able to precisely predict it and avoid the blow by jumping out of its way in the nick of time. There was even a time when Indomitable Bear just ducked his way out of the beast's trample. Everyone thought that he was done for. But subverting all of their expectations, he used his elbows as a fulcrum, his own weight to build momentum, and pushed himself out and avoided the trampling blow as if he was street dancing. The battle continued. An hour later, the war hunchback beast was finally grievously injured by the rally of attacks. It heavily fell to the ground, panting for a while before finally breathing its last. Success. Indomitable Bear slowly stood up and stepped on the corpse of the war hunchback beast, declaring his victory. 666,666. MFN is often used by gamers and commenters on live streaming platforms. According to Legend Baidu, it originates from Chinese League of Legends gamers who first used the number 6 to show respect, kind of like a, well played. It sounds like Lu Lu, which means to be adept. MFN. Big boss. FCK. We can actually fight like this. My eyes are finally open. The players were so excited that they immediately cheered. A body forging realm. You really killed an early stage spirit vein realm beast. Yiming was the one who was the most shocked. Just who is this person? Disciples, where did this outstanding disciple come from? Who can tell me? Yiming suppressed his shock and immediately asked the players around him. Brother Ming, he's a god-tier speedrunner. A world record holder for 3 consecutive years. Not only that, he's the first man to clear the Black Soul VR game without any injuries. FCK. Why are you telling an NPC all of this? Do you think he'll understand any of this? Yiming finally understood. Sid turned out to be a god-tier speedrunner from Earth. A top player at that, no wonder, Yiming nodded. Although his cultivation was only at the first stage of body forging realm. However, this indomitable bear had clearly experienced countless games MFN, extremely difficult games MFN, and had long been used to fighting this type of weak against the strong type of situations. Thinking back to the many soul type game end bosses, they were always more than 100 times stronger than the players. But in the end, they would still be killed by the players. Although the war hunchback beast was very strong, in the end, it was a dumb demonic beast. Once its weaknesses and attacking patterns were fully grasped, it was reasonable for it to be taken by a top player like Indomitable Bear. Congratulations, Indomitable Bear. As your first kill reward, I will bestow you with a body forging pill. Yiming made an announcement, then he raised his hand and threw a crystal clear pill to Indomitable Bear. Body forging pills were the main medicinal pills consumed by body forging realm cultivators. The pill wasn't expensive, and it could increase the strength of the body and increase cultivation. Thank you, Sect Master. Indomitable Bear was overjoyed after receiving the pill and did not dawdle and directly swallowed it. Boom. Instantly, the aura surrounding him erupted, and he directly broke through, entering the second stage of body forging realm. The powerful medicinal pill's effect did not stop at that, but it continued to circulate within his body and made him break through a second time. He charged straight into the third stage of body forging realm. He broke through. Many players were shocked. The pill is so powerful. My speed, strength, and reaction time have all been upgraded. Indomitable Bear felt his strength surge and was extremely excited. Making a conservative assessment, all of his base stats had almost doubled. Yiming wasn't surprised. That was a high-grade body forging pill. Yiming had originally kept it for himself, intending to forcefully break into the spirit vein realm if he couldn't find a spirit ascension pill. He only had 3 of them. However, after eating the system's top-grade ascension pill and breaking through to the spirit vein realm, this body tempering pill was useless to him. As such, why not take it out as a first kill reward? Damn it, it's the first kill reward. FCK. The heck? He's still showing no signs of stopping, how envious. Sigh. There's nothing I can do about it. There's no way I'll get that reward with this strength of mine. All the players were extremely envious and immediately became excited. They'd seen the demo, so why not try it out themselves? 9 Chapter 10, Young Master Beef Noodle isn't convinced. Ding. New update. The Hall of Resurrection is now open. After players die, they will automatically revive in the Hall of Resurrection. Their cultivation will be reset to the first stage of body forging realm. There isn't a need to create a new character. Yiming seized this opportunity to announce the new building. The players were all stunned, and when the news settled and they all began to rejoice and revel in excitement. Let's go kill. I'll give it a try too. Maybe I'll make a double kill. That's right. Even if we die, there's still the Hall of Resurrection. There's no more need for the troublesome character body reconstruction. Everybody was excited. Ha ha ha, I will too. I will too. Beef Noodle jumped out and proclaimed excitedly. Following that, his eyes began searching and quickly stopped at a nearby war hunchback beast. Charge. Beef Noodle directly rushed up to it and rolled over skillfully. It just so happened to fall under the war hunchback's feet. Yes, the next scene was simply graphically picturesque. He died instantly. The facts were clear and open. A pro was a pro, not anyone could imitate their actions in hopes of getting similar rewards. Soon, all the players followed suit and rolled on the ground with the eager ambition of sidestepping and killing the beast in a cool way. But in the end, only less than the time it took to burn half an incense stick had gone by and everyone found themselves gathered in the Hall of Resurrection staring at each other in dismay. There was a strange duet going on between everybody's body and mind at the moment. Brain, let's do it. Body, no. Don't wanna. Boo-hoo. At this moment, the players all felt 1,000 alpacas running in their hearts MFN, a euphemism for the curse word, mother F cur, MFN. This is crazy, wasn't this a good cultivation game? Where was the begging devil? Where was the path for immortal ascension? Why do I feel like this is some sort of soul game? Damn it. We'll have to kick the war hunchback beast more than 100 times for as long as an hour, that too without having the luxury of making a single mistake. How the hell can this be done? The thing that pains the most is that a pro is teaching me how to defeat the beast and yet, I am still way too incompetent to face the beast. The players were beaten up badly, with nothing that they could do to overcome the situation. What to do now? They could only gather around in the square, chop up the beast killed by the boss, Indomitable Bear, and continue to eat hot pot around the bonfire. This game was too cruel. Only hot pot could heal their broken hearts. It seems that only Indomitable Bear is strong enough to kill the war hunchback beast. No one else could handle the task, Yiming mused to himself. There were still 2.5 days left before the mission ended. Yiming could probably defeat 10 or so of them, and Indomitable Bear could only take care of so much by himself. I don't have enough time. It's simply too much. Yiming shook his head and didn't wallow over it anymore. As a result, Yiming chose another direction to descend the mountain. He avoided the players and began to hunt the war hunchback beast by himself. At this moment, other than Indomitable Bear, who was still fighting a hunchback beast alone, most players had given up. However, there were some among the players who were unremitting in their efforts. Like Beef Noodle, for example. I'm not convinced. Beef Noodles gnashed his teeth, unwilling to give up just like that. As an experienced player, he had cleared countless games and had won so many trophies. Even the most difficult Soul 7 in the Soul series, Beef Noodles had managed to clear it with all sorts of shameless methods and tactics. He had even conquered the most difficult game of the Soul series, Soul 7. Albeit, using underhanded and shameless methods. Still, he did clear it and was considered a win nonetheless. And now, he couldn't even defeat a monster in the novice village. How could he accept it? It should be because I'm not proficient enough. Let's fight it a few more times. Beef Noodle thought to himself and hurriedly ran down the mountain. 2 hours later. Hell. Standing in front of the Hall of Resurrection, Beef Noodle began contemplating about life and nearly had an existential crisis. Why? Why is this game so difficult? I clearly know how to play. He had practiced rolling many times and had gotten extremely skilled at it. But why was it that when it came to the showdown, he always died? War hunchback beast, you have forced me to do this. Beef Noodle took a deep breath and his temperament changed. Since I cannot fight you head on. Don't blame me for playing dirty. Beef Noodle turned around and ran to the sect, frantically searching for something. Anything. Is this a pill refinement cauldron? Soon, Beef Noodle found himself in a collapsed ruin and had found a damaged cauldron. There were many black lumps inside the cauldron. Let's not worry, I'll just stuff it in my pocket first. He grabbed a large chunk from the pile of black lumps and stuffed them into his pocket before continuing his search. Yes. Soon, Beef Noodle arrived at a small wooden storehouse with some old manuscripts and shovels, and other miscellanea. Hey, what about the war hunchback beast? Aren't you just a beast in the end? I'll dig up a huge pit and when you fall in, won't you just be another meat on the chopping board? Beef Noodle chuckled. Then, he ran down the mountain and found a suitable location, and started digging. It had to be said that the characters in this game were still very strong. Beef Noodle wasn't fatigued even after half an hour of continuous digging. If it were in reality, he could at most dig a few times with the body constitution he had in real life. Alright. Soon, Beef Noodle praised his work with satisfaction. A 5 by 2 meter wide pit could be seen in front of Beef Noodle, with its depth being 5 meters deep. It was just enough for the war hunchback beast to strain out its head but wasn't shallow enough that it could jump out of the pit. After finding some grass to cover it, Beef Noodle quickly ran out to look for a war hunchback beast. Little beast, come hit me. If you catch up to me, I'll let you go. Beef Noodle's face pointed at a war hunchback beast as he shouted in a taunting tone. Beef Noodle's expressions and actions were truly too much and had successfully incited it. The beast's eyes turned red as it crazily charged at him. Beef Noodle turned around and ran away. He arrived in front of the trap. With a clean leap, he stood at the other end of the trap. Come on, Beef Noodle waved his hands and started to taunt it even more. As the war hunchback beast was chasing after him, it fell into the trap without incident. Bang! A dull thud could be heard. The huge body of the war hunchback beast fell directly into the pit. Because the pit was very narrow, it made the trapped war hunchback beast successfully immobile. Ha 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 ha. Are you stupid? Beef Noodles laughed loudly. What happened? Want to bite me? Jump out and bite me then. Sigh, I'll just stand here, come and beat me up. Look, this is my MFN perfect plan MFN. Do you even have the ability to bite? At this moment, the war hunchback beast suddenly stuck out its tongue and wrapped itself around Beef Noodle's foot. Bloody hell. Why is this beast's tongue so long? Beef Noodle was stunned. Before he could react, he was pulled by the beast's tongue and dragged to the front. It's over. His vision turned dark as the war hunchback beast opened its mouth and swallowed him whole. When he opened his eyes again, he was in the Hall of Resurrection. FCK. Damn it. Beef Noodle spat. His plan failed. Without any time to think about it, Beef Noodle hurried to the trap. Damn it. I wonder if that war hunchback beast can crawl out of the pit and run away. Sigh. Halfway through his soliloquy, Beef Noodle's expression changed. He was stunned. Ding. Beef Noodle has killed a war hunchback beast and completed the assigned mission. Reward. 100 contribution points. 10 Chapter 11. Did I come to the wrong place? FCK, I haven't gone over yet. How did that war hunchback beast die? What the FCK happened? Beef Noodle had question marks on his face. Could it be that his innate talent was so extraordinary? Bah. When Beef Noodle arrived at the scene, he was even more dumbfounded. The war hunchback beast had indeed died. Its mouth was foaming, and its face blackened. It was lying still in the pit, its body already cold. There was no need to think about this. Forget humans, even a monkey could tell it was poisoned. FCK. Could it be that my foot is so stinky that after the war hunchback beast ate this old man, it was poisoned to death? Pa. That's not right. This is a game. It isn't my true body. After investigating, Beef Noodle finally pulled out something from the mouth of the war hunchback beast. Black muck. Could it be this thing? Beef Noodle lowered its head and looked at the black lumps in his hands. It was something that he had found from that suspicious pill refining cauldron in the ruins. It looked like pill dregs. Could it be that this thing was poisonous? After thinking for a while, Beef Noodle lowered his head and licked a few mouthfuls. In less than a few breaths, Beef Noodle found the visuals in front of him distorted. His body was weakening, and the world gradually became blurry. When he gradually opened his eyes again, he found himself in the Hall of Resurrection. Although he died at the speed of light, Beef Noodle was ecstatic. I seem to have discovered a loophole in this game. In a cave on the other side of the mountain, the corpses of 5 war hunchback beasts were lying on the ground. They were all hunted and killed by Yiming. Yiming took a deep breath and opened his eyes. As of now, it was getting late in the day. He had only managed to kill 5 beasts. It took him about 3 hours and was still heavily wounded from this venture. He had found a cave to recuperate. As of now, it was getting late in the day. He had only managed to kill 5 beasts, which took him around 3 hours in total, and was heavily wounded in the process. To recuperate, he had found a cave and began to regather his strength there quietly. As soon as he closed his eyes, half a day had passed. It seems that this is all I can do today. I killed 5, an indomitable bear can kill at most 2 or maybe 3. It's still far from completion, he thought to himself. He then opened the system panel and checked his mission stats. What greeted him in the interface made him dumbfounded. Beef Noodle has killed a war hunchback beast and completed the assigned mission. Reward. 100 contribution points. Beef Noodle has killed a war hunchback beast and completed the assigned mission. Reward. 100 contribution points. Beef Noodle has killed a war hunchback beast and completed the assigned mission. Reward. 100 contribution points. There were a bunch of notifications, all stating that Beef Noodle had killed a dozen or so war hunchback beasts. Following those notifications were the notifications of other players killing war hunchback beasts. Wang Lufei killed a war hunchback beast and completed the assigned mission. Reward. 100 contribution points. Star has killed a war hunchback beast and completed the assigned mission. Reward. 100 contribution points. Nation's First Ice Service has killed a war hunchback beast and completed the assigned mission. Reward. 100 contribution points. Yiming was flabbergasted when he saw the long list of notifications. He looked at the mission stats again. 99 100ths. What the hell? What happened? He felt as he was dreaming, and was unsure if he was truly awake. What exactly happened when he was recuperating? Why did the players who had died such brutal deaths previously, all become formidable, killing more than 90 war hunchback beasts in such a short amount of time? This group of trash at the body forging realm that didn't even have proper weapons. In one short day, they had killed more war hunchback beasts than the sum of their numbers. Seeing that there was only one beast left before the mission could be completed, Yiming took a deep breath before quickly returning to the sect. What Yiming desperately wanted to know was, how did these players kill so many war hunchback beasts? As soon as he returned to the sect square, Yiming saw the corpses of the hunchback beasts on the ground. A small portion of them had been butchered for meat. There were over a dozen hot pot racks, grilling racks, teppanyaki, and even those who made hot dishes. In the end, was this the sect square or the night market? War hunchback beast little hot pot, hurry up and eat it. High quality, hot and spicy, homemade, clean and delicious. Don't miss it. Slots are open in the midnight battle team now. Pill dregs will be provided for you. There are shovels for the first 2. Come, work hard with us. Star's efficient and fast battle team. There are already 3 people on the team and only 1 slot left to be filled. Come, join us and take a bold leap of faith. Not only did the players set up a stall, but there were also even quite a few people who were pedaling and hawking loudly. Yiming felt as he had come to the wrong place. Did he transmigrate again? Brother Ming is here. The sharp-eyed players shouted when they saw Yiming appear. Immediately, a group of players swarmed. One of the players hugged Yiming's leg. Yiming lowered his head and saw that it was Beef Noodle. Brother Ming, these bastards are too shameless. They're trying to copy my methods. You have to seek justice for me and reward me. They must be punished. Tears welled down Beef Noodle's eyes as he made his face look grievous and pitiful. Hearing this, Yiming was dumbfounded. Brother Ming, there are so few war hunchback beasts. Where can we find more war hunchback beasts? That's right, that's right. It's not easy to find the war hunchbacks right now. I went out to look for more beasts 10 minutes ago, but I didn't see any of them. They've all been wiped out. The players were all complaining how hunchback beasts had become scarce. Yiming was truly confused. Killing 5 war hunchback beasts is already the limit of my spiritual vein realm strength, and that too after suffering internal injuries. Then why is it that you guys, at the measly first stage of body forging realm, wiped them all out? But naturally, he couldn't show his bafflement. Beef Noodle, since you say that they have copied your plan in killing the beasts, you might as well demonstrate it. Yiming spoke indifferently. 11 Chapter 12, Heaven's Mandate. The mountain where the sect sat upon was very large. The place at the foot of the mountain that the players had not explored yet was even larger. That was why there were still a lot of war hunchback beasts left. Yiming pointed in a direction that the players had never been to before. No problem. Brother Ming, you must give me justice. Beef Noodle nodded, and then he carried the iron shovel down the mountain. Yiming was a bit confused. Why did he have to carry a shovel? This iron shovel was covered in rust. It couldn't even break the skin of a war hunchback beast. What could he possibly want it for? He saw Beef Noodle skillfully dig up a big hole in the ground under 10 minutes. He then saw Beef Noodle make a face saying, "Come beat me up," and strangely enough, a war hunchback beast got inside it and fell into the pit. Then, out of nowhere, he saw Beef Noodle running and taking a leap of faith directly into the beast's mouth. Yiming was stunned. FCK. It can be done this way too. This is the special method. This was the legendary beast-killing method. If one had faith, they could do it too. Following the poison-killing technique of Beef Noodle, the 100th war hunchback beast was successfully killed. Ding. Congratulations on completing the mission host. Mission evaluation, S. Mission reward, Qing Emperor's immortal body art, human scripture. Yiming was stunned, and then, he was overjoyed. It's actually the Qing Emperor's immortal body art. Although it was just a human scripture, it was still enough for him to cultivate up to the heavenly pill realm. The Qing Emperor's immortal body art had cultivation techniques of 5 major realms of cultivation. Even if he didn't consume medicinal pills and didn't have any fateful encounters or opportunities, he could still rely on closed-door cultivation. With the power of the Qing Emperor's immortal body art, in 100 years, he would definitely reach the heavenly pill realm. How formidable. When he was still in the academy, Yiming had the chance to meet many old students with insufficient cultivation resources. They were some among them who were more than 50 years old and yet were still struggling at the spirit vein realm. Therefore, Yiming didn't hesitate at all. He directly began to cultivate the Qing Emperor's immortal body art. Because it was a system reward, Yiming had mastered it perfectly in less than a second. Boom. Along with the rumbling sound emitting from his body, a powerful green torrent of energy slowly circulated inside him. The enormous energy continuously nourished every part of his body's meridians, bones, and flesh. Crack. Yiming felt as if he was reborn through the Qing Emperor's immortal body art. His skin was sparkling and translucent, and his appearance had become even more pleasing. Even his height had increased by a bit. When Yiming waved his hand, a slight sound could be heard. Even though his cultivation was still at the early stage of spirit vein realm. But Yiming had absolute confidence that if he encountered the war hunchback beast again, he wouldn't need to attack its weak point again. He could directly kill it with a single punch. This was how terrifying the Qing Emperor's immortal body art was. Brother Ming. Brother Ming. Seeing Yiming suddenly sit cross-legged and start cultivating, Beef Noodle didn't dare to disturb him. He could only wait. At the same time, another leap of faith killed a war hunchback beast. In any case, he was idle. Yiming opened his eyes, and with a flash of light, his large hand heavily slapped the newly resurrected Beef Noodle's shoulder. You're awesome. You've done very well. Let's go and gather all the disciples. Your sect master has a major announcement to make. Yiming said loudly. Definitely, Brother Ming. Beef Noodle happily ran back to the mountain and shouted loudly. Everyone, listen. Brother Ming has asked to gather everyone. He has something important to announce. Following the shouts of Beef Noodle, the players abandoned what they were doing and gathered. Yiming looked at the bunch of players before him, their mouths lined with grease and had skewers in hand. The more he looked, the more he liked them. Although some of the players were very calculating, cunning, and unscrupulous, what if they were? He relied on the most unscrupulous of them all, Beef Noodle, to complete the mission. Not only did he complete the mission, but he also successfully obtained the Qing Emperor's immortal body art, a heaven-defying cultivation technique. Where is Beef Noodle? Disciple is here, Sect Master. Beef Noodle came forward and half knelt on the ground with his face filled with joy. Disciple Beef Noodle has created a completely new strategy to kill the war hunchback beast. This Sect Master is very pleased with him. He shall receive 1,000 sect contribution points and 1 body forging pill, Yiming spoke calmly. He flipped his palm and a body forging pill appeared. Disciple thanks the Sect Master. Beef Noodle was overjoyed, which made him answer in a playful manner. Then, he took the body forging pill. What made him even more excited was that he received a notification stating that he received 1,000 contribution points. This was equivalent to killing 10 war hunchback beasts. FCK, 1,000 contribution points. FCK, that much. Brother Noodle, you're so mighty. Brother Noodle, I want to work with you. The other players were all shocked. Even though Beef Noodle had killed several war hunchback beasts in a row, the other players had all followed him and secretly learned the trick. However, there were still a few players who hadn't even arrived yet. In the end, Beef Noodle's contribution points were already 2,000. What did it mean to be a big shot? This was. At this moment, the sun was rising in the east. A new day had arrived. Yiming signed in without saying a word. Ding. Sign in successful. Sign in reward. Heaven's mandate, Master of Fate. Effect 1. Host's disciples will obtain karmic luck if they kill any creature at the spiritual vein realm or above. All of this karmic luck will be accumulated and rewarded to the host. Host can exchange this karmic luck for cultivation base and use it to raise his own cultivation base. Effect 2. Host can also bestow this karmic luck to his disciples, directly increasing their cultivation. Effect 3. Host can share his main cultivation technique with his disciples through a jade slip, allowing his disciples to comprehend and cultivate it. Yiming was stunned when he saw the sign and instructions. Heaven's mandate. In the Academy's extremely ancient books, he had seen the records of Heaven's mandate. It was said that in the far-forgotten past, there was a supreme technique that allowed ancient powerful cultivators to comprehend from the power of the heavenly Tao. The technique had long been lost. Even if he had only obtained a few incomplete chapters of Heaven's mandate technique and only managed to comprehend a small amount of it, it would still be enough for him to establish an invincible force that would suppress everything within the continent for hundreds of years. Heaven's mandate was this awesome. 12 Chapter 13. Good morning, workers. Lady Luck is simply too good to me. This means that not only would all players work for me, but also work towards improving my cultivation. Yiming could see through its amazing value at a glance. Of course, from the perspective of the players, Yiming still seemed tranquil and calm. System, check how many luck points I have now. Yiming hurriedly asked. 101 points, the system quickly replied. Obviously, Yiming acquired all the points the players had gathered. Since there is enough luck, Yiming was not stingy. Dear disciples, you have worked so hard to contribute to the sect and kill the war hunchback beasts. The Sect Master is very pleased. Therefore, this Sect Master will formally teach you a technique of our sect. The Azure Emperor Eternal Body. It's a technique to forge your body. Yiming spoke faintly, activated Heaven's mandate, and taught the players the cultivation methods of the Azure Emperor Immortal Body. All the 88 players felt that their eyes were black. Just like using the jade slip, a cyan figure did the cultivation methods of the Azure Emperor Immortal Body over and over again. Some players were smart, and they could understand it at a single glance. They immediately followed the shown method to repeatedly practice it. There were also some players who were stupid and needed to watch it many times before they could understand it. It took a full hour before many players opened their eyes. Suddenly, these players were surprised to find that their bodies were radiating light, and the majestic power roared within their bodies. Their strengths had all greatly improved. With the help of Heaven's mandate, the players' cultivation speed had greatly accelerated. These players were just beginning to learn the bare basics of the Azure Emperor Immortal Body. It was only their body's basic attributes that had seen great improvements. One needed at least 3 to 5 years of hard work to finally see improvements in the Azure Emperor immortal body art. There was a great disparity between them and Yiming, who had the power of the system. Not only did his attributes double, but more importantly, Yiming's body underwent a transformation. The difference between the players and him was akin to the difference between the sky and earth. Whoa. This technique is explosive. The Azure Emperor immortal body. It turned out to be the Azure Emperor immortal body. Did you cultivate such a heaven-defying technique at the beginning? As expected of my elder brother Ming. The players happily felt the majestic power in their bodies, and they were all extremely excited. But it was not over yet. Yiming immediately released a new notification to all players, announcing another good news. Ding. Sect redemption function is open. Dear players, you can now log into the Sect redemption interface, spend contribution points, and redeem what you need. The players were taken aback. After reading the notification, they couldn't wait to log into the Sect redemption interface. At this time, only one thing could be exchanged on the Sect redemption interface. 1 point body forging realm cultivation. Price equals 200 contribution points. Description: improving from body forging realm stage 1 to stage 2 requires 1 point, stage 2 to stage 3 requires 2 points, and so on. Stage 9 to stage 10 requires 9 points. To reach the peak of the 10th stage, 10 points are required. We have to improve using contribution points. While holding grass and killing monsters won't increase experience. Do we need to buy experience points after completing tasks? He planned to wait until this cheap baby came out to get beaten. The players began to stir the pot again. Some cursed, while some were excited. Beef Noodle waved his hand and directly spent 200 contribution points, which was exchanged for 1 cultivation point. Suddenly, his cultivation base increased sharply, breaking through to the 2nd stage of the body forging realm. I'm invincible. Beef Noodle roared excitedly, and then rushed down the mountain. In less than 5 minutes. Damn it. Beef Noodle walked out of the Hall of Resurrection. He died and his cultivation base was reset. He was back to the 1st stage of body forging realm. Fortunately, the cultivation method of the Azure Emperor immortal body did not need to be retrained. Disciples. Yiming spoke again. Seeing your breakthrough in strength, this Sect Master is very pleased and hereby opens all areas. There are many places around this mountain that you haven't been to. There are a lot of war hunchback beasts there, you may even find them in hordes in some places. Go fight. Hone and exercise your strength. Yiming gave an impassioned speech and then released another small notice. Friendly reminder, players, contribution points will always exist and will not be reset. Players can accumulate and use them to improve their strength at critical moments. All areas are opened. Doesn't that mean that we can go anywhere? Go to hell. With our strength, if you meet 2 war hunchback beasts, it will be GG. TLN, good game. Usually used at the end of a match. Contribution points are permanent. Does this mean that the contribution points can still be used in future version updates? The players were fired up. Go, disciples. Yiming said lightly. Good morning, part-timers. Yiming added in his heart. These were not disciples, but his workers. The more players tried to kill monsters, the more luck they could bring to him. If the players killed 2 war hunchback beasts, they would get 200 contribution points, and at the same time give him 2 points of karmic luck. He only needed to pay 1 point of luck to recover the players' 200 contribution points. 1 in and 1 out, he could earn twice as much. With this 100% profit scheme, he could improve his cultivation. Although he had just broken through the early stage of the spiritual vein realm, Yiming seemed to have seen himself in the middle stage of the spiritual vein realm. Doing this makes me look like a shameless thief, but I like it. Concurrently, the players also dispersed and came to the foot of the mountain. 13 Chapter 14, New Library. Look, there are so many war hunchback beasts. Oh my god, there are hordes of war hunchback beasts by the river. Little beast, here I am. I found it first. Go away. Leap of faith. As the players attacked wildly, the beasts kept falling down. On Yiming's side, his karmic luck value was constantly changing. +1 and then +1. Soon, Yiming's luck value accumulated to more than 150 points, so Yiming spent 100 points and converted it all to improve his cultivation base. Boom. The majestic chi of heaven and earth turned into a whirlpool, then gathered on top of Yiming's head. It flowed into Yiming's body like a potion. Yiming only felt the immense aura pouring into his body, and he hurriedly used the Azure Emperor immortal body to absorb it. If it was an ordinary cultivator, he wouldn't be able to bear such a huge force and would explode within minutes. It was the Azure Emperor immortal body. With such heaven-defying technique, even such a terrifying power of heaven and earth was perfectly absorbed. Not a drop was missed. The next moment, spiritual power flowed, and it happened naturally. Breakthrough. Middle Spirit Vein Realm. This cultivation speed is simply defying the heavens. Yiming opened his eyes. The moment he saw improvement after the breakthrough felt so refreshing. The feeling of immeasurable power coursing throughout the body was simply the supreme enjoyment, and it made people fascinated. Yiming settled down without realizing that an entire day had passed. Yiming couldn't help but sigh. It's no wonder that those powerful people could cultivate in isolation for hundreds of years. During cultivation, time flies too fast. Let me see how many beasts these players have killed. Yiming opened the system interface and was stunned. 387. In just one day, these players killed another 387 war hunchback beasts. The fourth natural disaster, a well-deserved reputation. These war hunchback beasts are going to be extinct at this rate. Yiming whispered. I can sign in again. A new day has begun, and Yiming happily begins to sign in. Ding, the host checked in successfully. Sign in rewards. A brand new building, library. New technique X2 has been added. Cold ice, an ancient basic spell. Absorbs the chi of heaven and earth and condenses it into cold air. Rank, first rank. Martial arts, ancient basic martial arts. You can quickly condense your body with the power of self-cultivation and greatly increase your body's strength. Grade, first grade. Seeing the sign in reward, Yiming was taken aback and then walked out of the hall. That's, Yiming looked at it, and his eyes suddenly lit up. The library, which was almost dilapidated, suddenly turned into a 9-story tower with glittering golden light. The first floor of the tower had opened. 2 jade slips were lying quietly on a bookshelf, waiting for the players to read it. The host can freely set permissions to the new library and can also set how many contribution points it takes to enter or purchase the right to read jade slips separately. The system prompt sounded at the same time. Huh. That's not bad. I can harvest another wave. Yiming was taken aback, then laughed. Brother Ming, it's not good. Brother Ming, think of a way. Yeah. As soon as Yiming appeared, many players surrounded him one after another. Dear disciples, what happened? Yiming suppressed his excitement and asked solemnly. Brother Ming, those war hunchback beasts are getting smarter. They are no longer fooled. Yes, those nasty beasts don't jump into the pits. Yes. When I did the leap of faith, this beast spat me out. It's shameless. The players were gritting their teeth one after another. Yiming was speechless. Who is shameless? You are all about to make it extinct. No matter how stupid the war hunchback beast is, it was bound to react. Of course, Yiming couldn't say these things. Disciples, don't panic. Please look over there. Yiming waved his hand and pointed to the location of the library. FCK. When did it come out? There are new updates. This tower is so domineering. Is this the new version of the sect library? The players were stunned, and then excited. Dear disciples. The library has been sorted out after the master renovated it in one day. Disciples can enter the library and cultivate brand new techniques. Currently, Xianxia Pavilion has 2 new techniques, cold ice and martial art. The specifics depend on the understanding of the disciples. Yiming spoke faintly and then sent a notification skillfully. Ding. The new library is available. Players only need to pay 100 contribution points to enter the library for 6 hours and freely read the techniques on the first floor. Second floor and above are not open yet, so stay tuned. Following the notification, the players exploded. This is a new technique. Quickly, I want to learn. Fuck, don't squeeze. Show a little bit of decency. Can't you line up? The players swarmed towards the library. Yiming was also a little curious about what the building rewarded by this system looked like, so he followed them in. Grin like it. And subscribe now, grin. Video part.